I watched the debate between Dr. Williams and Stokely Carmichael, and I was amazed, not just by their brilliance, but how familiar it all sounded. Everything they said, literally everything they stood for, still makes sense and echoes today, decades later, and the conversation hasn't changed. The same struggles, the same questions, only different faces. And it's scary to realize how much truth they spoke, how far ahead of their time they were. And it makes me realize it wasn't long ago at all. And I can't help but to think about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when he said, "I fear I have led my people into a burning house." It's like he fought for freedom to get out of a cage, only to see that outside of that cage there was just another cage and it's on fire. Looking around at everything, and now it feels like the house is still burning, different flames, but the same fire. Back then, our leaders weren't just activists, they were architects of change. Superheroes. They spoke with conviction, and they built movements from the ground up. From the ground up. Today, it feels like those voices are gone. The only time we have anybody that wants to stand for anything is if they're getting paid for it. We don't have civil rights leaders, or leaders at all, like we used to back in the 50s and 60s. People who would risk everything for the truth. The truth. And maybe it's time we start listening again. Maybe it's time we pick up where they left off. No, maybe. It is time. It is definitely time. If we would have kept the momentum that those people had, where do you think we would be now? We would be a place that's a lot better. Things wouldn't be 100% perfect or fixed. Guaranteed. But guarantee that we would be a lot better. 100%, 300% better. But we stopped. What happened? What changed? What leaders do we have? Now, I'm not saying we don't have leaders, because we do. I've seen them. I watch them. But we have so little, and they're spread out. They're not corresponding. They're not cooperating together. They don't have a huge following. We're not paying attention to them. It's like we're domesticated, and we're being, what's the word I'm going to look for? Our focus is on entertainment, fun, enjoying ourselves. And it's like we're not focused on our livelihood. We're not focused on our economy, our children. We should own the communities that we live in by now. And when I say own, I mean that we should be owning every store, gas station that's on the corner, every veterinary hospital. We should own that. We should run that. Every school, we should be operating that and running that. The streets should be clean. The garbage men that come into our neighborhoods, we should run that as well. We can do that, but we can't do that if we're not united. And it seems like that we're all focused on individuality, and I get it. Imagine growing up in a time to where it's us versus them, right? And to everyone else, or to the world, you're just the black people. You're all the same. And so you want individuality. I know about individuality more than anybody. Trust me, I know. But you can have individuality and still unite. You can have individuality, be united, and build communities. And I know this is a conversation that we can have that can take decades, because I can talk about it forever. I don't have anyone to talk about it with, but I can talk on it because I think on it 24/7. Since I was a child, I've been thinking about this. At the end of the day, the burning house is going to be America, guaranteed. But we can also fix that as well. Before we fix that, we have to fix ourselves. Lead by example. Become the mayors in our communities. fix schools, programs, education. Like, we can do all of that. We can do all of that. Now, everything comes down to money, right? Which is the same problem with America. It's going to be money. Capitalism. It's a beast that devours itself and everybody right along with it. Guaranteed. But America's not ready for that conversation. They would rather let the house burn. We give money to churches every week, right? When you go to a church, you give money. You can do the same for communities. You give money and give money, even if you don't have a lot. And I get it. A lot of us, we barely have enough just to get by for the next thing, for the next week, let alone saving for a business. I understand. I'm in the same exact boat. There's so much that I want to do that I can't do, and I don't have the funds to do it. And it hurts. But we can still do this. We can grow gardens on our own. We can share vegetables, plants, even animals. We can do that. We can feed each other. But the same way that you donate money to a church, you can do for a community. We all give what we can give. Every week, we get enough to where we can buy and build a grocery store on that corner. We run that grocery store. We hire our children, our adults, young adults, our elderly. We hire them. We're all working. We're sustaining each other. That store brings enough money to get another store and get that to keep reproducing stores. It can reproduce different types of stores, a gas station. But we have to start. We have to start. And I feel like we're not even acknowledging it. We're screaming that there's a problem. We're screaming that there's a fire. But we aren't addressing our parts in that fire. So in the video, Stokely hits the nail on the head, and he talks about how us in our communities is that the best of us, let's say we get college degrees, or we win the lotto, or we buy this business that takes off, or we built this business that takes off, and we become millionaires, or maybe not even millionaires, but we get a lot more money to where we don't have to live in that community anymore. We leave. And it's a trend that's been going on for generations. And I get it, right? You look at the music videos, they say the same thing. I made it out the hood, right? I get it. But we don't ever see those people go back and fix the hoods, right? You lived in that hood. There were things that you didn't like about it. You knew things were wrong. You lived in it, so you know what's wrong with it. You know what could be better, what would be better, what should be better. But you just leave, and you leave everybody else there. Again, as a child, I've already thought about all of this, but I don't have the money. I don't have the funds, and it's weird. I figured I should own at least a couple of businesses by now, but we're not talking about me. So the best of us leave, and they go join a high-class neighborhood, right? So now their money's circulating through that neighborhood, through that town, through that area, right? Instead of building your house in the communities that need to be fixed, fixing that community, building your business there, letting your money circulate there. Our money has to circulate around us. When the Asians, when they built their grocery stores in our neighborhoods, their money goes back. They would drive from our neighborhood to a completely different neighborhood that has nothing to do with us, and that's where their money circulates. How hard is it to buy black-owned? We have black-owned farmers. That's food. We have black-owned clothes designers, clothes makers, clothing brands, shoemakers, shoe designers, arts, toys, movies, television shows, music. We have so much that can sustain us, and yet we're all just spread out doing our own thing. And that money As soon as you get it, we send it out to somebody else's community to feed their family, to put them in private schools. And those same people that we feed, those same people that exploit us, because that's what it is, it's exploitation. Those same people that exploit us, that eat off of our backs, the same way this nation has been doing since the beginning, they don't acknowledge it. They won't even acknowledge it. So we need to acknowledge it ourselves. Think about this. You're a billionaire that owns a business, and you've talked these people into working for free, right? And they don't realize that they don't have to work for free. They can literally say, hey, we're not working for free anymore. These are our terms and conditions, or we're not working here. Those people don't do that. You think that business owner is going to one day say, hey, you know what? I've made billions of dollars. I'm not going to let them work for free. I'm going to take care of them. I'm going to do what's right. I'm going to treat them the way that I want to be treated. No, this system is capitalism. The root of everything is fucking capitalism. No, they're not going to do that because he's worried about him. He's worried about him and his family, how much money he can get. Nobody cares. We have to do this. We have to do this. We have to circulate our money around us. Black power is real and it is important. We need to bring it back, 100%. Now you're gonna have people, small-minded people of little intelligence, or maybe they are intelligent, but they're just ignorant or just racist. You know, they're gonna say, oh, black power, or you're trying to segregate, or you're being racist. No, it's the opposite. I am building. All right, America owes us. God damn it, guarantee America owes us. But I'm not gonna sit here and we're just gonna wait with our fucking hands out. No, America has already proven its morality. We're asking and begging humanity from a nation that proved that it doesn't have any. It doesn't have empathy, sympathy, or morals, unless the morality is being spoken of on their behalf or its behalf. We have enough. I'm an electrician. I can do other trades. We have enough. We have the intelligence, we have the drive, we have the impatience. We gotta have the patience as far as to live the way we've been living. Yeah, we have the patience for sure. We don't have all the money, but we have some money. We can do this. We spend approximately $2 trillion a year. About $2 trillion. Imagine if $2 trillion were circulating throughout neighborhoods. We can do one neighborhood at a time, but we can do something. So those of us that get money, get the degrees, and get the businesses and leave, we can't have that. We cannot have that. You're literally cutting the head off of our bodies. Let's build. I don't want to talk your head off, but basically, the debate between Dr. Williams and Stokely Carmichael is fucking phenomenal. I'm gonna show you it, but I'm not gonna show you the whole thing because it's too long. I have clips. I think the original video is probably a couple hours long. You can see it on YouTube. But yeah, if you guys want to talk, if you know anybody that wants to discuss this with me, we can discuss politics. We can discuss black economics. I'm here. I need someone to talk to. I'm a lonely man. But yeah, enjoy the video. Let me know what you think.
And that is precisely the same thing they attempt to do with black power. We say black power and they say you mean violence. And so they want to say, no, no, that's not what we mean. We don't mean violence. We don't mean separatism. We don't mean this. Later, we will be masters of our own term. White society will recognize our terms. They will not define it. That's the first thing you ought to understand in your minds so that you be crystal clear. Black power is the coming together of black people to fight for their liberation, period. The forms of that will be defined by black people. Black people will look. Now then, the importance of black power in terms of a conceptual program has to do with the types and approaches of racism that exist in this country. There are two types of racism in this country. There is an individual act of racism, and there is what we call in SNCC institutionalized racism. Now, let me give you an example of both and the response of the nation, or most segments of this society, to both of them. If white people bomb a black church and kill 5 black children, that is an act of individual racism. And the entire, or most segments of this society deplores such an act, all right? But now in that same city, Birmingham, Alabama, if not 5, but 500 black babies die each year because of lack of proper food, medical facilities, housing, and thousands more black people are maimed physically, educationally, intellectually, and mentally. That is an act of institutionalized racism. And that is what goes on in every major ghetto of this country, institutionalized racism. Now, this country pretends that it doesn't know about institutionalized slavery and racism, or is incapable of doing anything meaningful about it. And that's what you have to understand. Therefore, the solutions that they present to us are solutions on an individual basis, not a solution to counteract institutionalized racism. Now, what you ought to recognize is that that program is not possible. Not only is it not possible, it is not particularly desirable. We have to maintain our own cultural identity as a people. And while maintaining that cultural identity, we have to fight for our liberation. We cannot sell our culture out. And that is precisely what the country must do. So that you have to recognize then that the only way you counteract institutional racism is to build power inside your community to counteract it. You cannot counteract it through individual approaches. That means that the knowledge that you acquire here, you must bring back to the black community to benefit that community instead of going to work for IBM, General Motors, or Gulf Oil, or some corporation like that that does not begin to benefit black people, only benefits you and this country, because it helps to perpetuate the lies about a democracy. So that's, I think, one of the major differences between black power and what they call integration. And it's so-called integration because if you knew anything about integration, you would know it's a two-way stream. It's a two-way stream. And I haven't seen any white people fighting to get into your schools from Georgia. I haven't seen any in Mississippi fighting to go. So what they're doing is draining from our communities the best that we have. Because you know in order to go to their schools, we got to send the best representative we have. And so they take the very best from our schools and send them over there to sit with their uncivilized children. Let them civilize themselves. We've got our own problems. That's what you ought to do. In the city of Atlanta, we have advocated a political program in terms of independent politics. The population of this city is 40% black, adult. We can control this city. If black people had guts, we would come together and independently organize that force, that 40% force, and while white people were fighting between the Democrat and Republican Party, we would take over this city lock, stock, and barrel. That's black power. That's black power. You ought to recognize how the city lies. When, what's the big-headed fellow's name? When Maddox ran against the progressive racist who's now mayor of this city, Ivan Allen, Maddox received more votes in the white community than did Allen. Do you know that? And the Negro leadership of this town told black people to vote for Allen. And it is our votes that put Allen into office. And you call this a progressive town where most of the white people voted for Maddox. And the very first thing that Allen did was to move us out from the Boulevard section and build $1 million stadium, and didn't even worry to find houses for us. That's because we are not organized as an independent force to stop the abuses of power that is penetrated upon us. And if we're about to stop them, we must organize ourselves independently. See, I agree that you need allies to an extent. My disagreement with the major exponents of the coalition theory for black people, notably Mr. Bayard Rustin, is that they never decide upon what terms you coalesce with people. Anyone knows that as a rule of politics that one coalesces on specific issues. You don't get married to an organization for lifetime. Therefore, it is inherent in the black power concept that one organizes independently oneself first, and deciding what is to one's interest, and then one can coalesce with groups if one can find those groups. Now, if in fact we follow Reverend Williams's logic to its conclusion, it then says that in the long run, white people are going to be against us anyway if we move for our liberation and they don't like it. And therefore, what we must do is do it on their terms, because if we didn't do it on their terms, the whole 60% in Atlanta or nationwide, the whole 90% would come together against us. And in my own feeling, it just absolutely agrees with what I say, that this country is racist from top to bottom, right to left. So that I think that's agreeing with me. Then my only question is, I would like to ask you, what is your position on the Vietnam War, given your affirmation by Dr. Du Bois, whom I happen to think is the greatest intellectual this country ever produced?
First of all, I want to thank Mr. Carmichael. I want to thank Mr. Carmichael for agreeing with my principle of our needing allies. I think this represents good judgment. I would be willing to sit with him or anybody else and talk about how we shall work out the implications and inferences of the principle, but it's important to recognize that there is a principle. One other observation he made, and everything I've said would indicate that we are in agreement here. This country is racist. Anybody who says it isn't doesn't know anything about it or isn't honest. And it is a racist country. The question and the problem for us is, how on earth can we work out a modus operandi in the midst of this kind of situation? And I think that because we are in the minority, there has to be some sort of coalition somewhere, and the terms on which that can be worked out is one that we face from day to day and from problem to problem. We're in agreement there.
It is precisely because Dr. Du Bois recognized the humanity of mankind that he gave up on this damn country. It is precisely because he recognized that. And if you are to read Dr. Du Bois' writings after 1904, and you could even start with The Soul of Black Folk, which is 1904, 1905, and 1906, his collective of essays, it shows clearly that he begins to deviate from that conception. He was the man who helped to start the NAACP with the Niagara Convention and left the NAACP over the same ideological questions. It is clear in my mind, it is crystal clear in my mind that what white America wants and her Negro allies is to make black people the moral conscience of this country, and they have no right to do it. This country is immoral. White people made it immoral. It is their job to clean it up. We have to worry about ourselves for a change.
Mr. Carmichael doesn't strengthen his case or anybody else's by saying that he wants to become immoral like other people too, because they are immoral.
No good, baby. It didn't even I've said very clearly, it is not our job to make America moral, white America, we are to be concerned with us. That is not to say that one imitates onto the level of immorality. It is precisely in the concept of black power that you state black people stop imitating white society, but rather begin to create for themselves, because white society has nothing to offer us. Its entire society is based on what is anti-black, clearly. And that is the trick bag that black people have always followed by trying to imitate white America. That is not to say you stoop to her morality, you forget about her.
So I thought you said that poverty remains because we lack the will to do something about it. And if you did make that statement, I'd like to ask you to explain this will in that sentence.
I believe what I said was that this nation is rich enough, it has sufficient technological understanding and know-how to eliminate and to alleviate poverty. The only reason poverty remains with us is that the nation lacks the will, power, to go ahead and do something about it. And all I mean by will, it wants to do it.
And then I want to comment about your last questions. I think that Dr. Williams is naively incorrect about his assumptions about poverty. Poverty is well calculated in this country. That is why it exists. Period. This is the richest country in the world. If they wanted to get rid of it, they would. They would. Nothing to it. No. There's a difference between will and calculated, because my next statement is the calculators of poverty run this country. That's the difference. That's the difference. You've got to understand that. That means the people who are rich continue to run this country, and they're not going to turn it over to poor people. There's a difference between will. No, will implies that they really want to, but you know, they're sort of nice guys, but they don't have the umption to do it, see? And calculated means that you have it planned that people stay poor, and that the people who run the country have it planned that way. There's a big difference. That is precisely the teachings that America teaches black people. And that for us to begin to have a new concept of ourselves, we must negate all of the teachings that white America has taught about black people. That is number one. You then say, number two, that you move within your own group to organize yourself independently first, and then decide what is it your group wants. Then you can move on. In the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, we feel that the third world is going to be important to relationships around this world, because we don't bite our tongue. We say the United States is the aggressor in Vietnam, and will not only be the aggressor in Vietnam, but will be the aggressor in Santo Domingo, the Dominican Republic, South Africa, Ghana, wherever they go. They exploit, rape, and plunder non-white people. Therefore, it is to our advantage to understand outside of the world the relationship then of the non-white world to us, since our philosophy and ideology cannot come from the white world. Our very introduction to this country was that of slavery. We were brought here not for our benefit, for the benefit of white people. The overall economic program of this country in the last 20 years has widened the gap between black people and white people. That means that the overall economic program of this country does not benefit black people. And you can go right on down the line. It just shows that wherever this country has gone, it's moved against us. Against us. The war in Vietnam is against us. McNamara says he's going to draft. It is clear to me that he's putting them on the front lines. And that we have to understand the very people who, you know who Spelman was named after, don't you? Yeah. Well, you know what I think about him, don't you? Well, Rockefeller is the cat who gives a lot of money to this college. You call him a philanthropist. He ain't nothing but a thief. He steals money from South Africa. The Rockefeller Empire controls the Chase Manhattan Bank, which controls the economy of South Africa. And the money that he steals from black people in South Africa, he gives to you, so you can keep your mouth shut. Du Bois said that.
I want to ask Mr. Carmichael a question. He is a very gifted young man at innuendo.
Flattery will get you nowhere.
He is a very...
One of my problems is that our so-called Negro leaders have never taught nonviolence among us, where it belongs, where it should start. We should begin to learn nonviolence among us. But certainly, Dr. Williams, I do not think you can deny the fact that while most students, and especially girls, wear their Nat and Nola cream to look light and bright, it certainly has some psychological effect upon them, that whenever your colleges pick homecoming queens, they're always light, bright, and After having said a definition where black people are not ashamed of themselves, then they can begin to come together. That's, dig it? Now, you have them come together as a unified force. See, you're absolutely wrong in your thinking if you think a majority ever rules a country. It is a unified minority. Everybody knows that. And if in Atlanta, Georgia, you got 40% of the people united, you have the largest minority united. The black people in this country represent the largest minority. That's what the real trouble is. We control 100 congressional districts in this country outright by our numbers, and we produce it like rabbits every day. Every day. So that it is crystal clear that by sheer number you have a unified minority. You can control effectively all sorts of political decisions that affect your people as a need, so that you can certainly move then politically. Once you control the politics of your community, you can begin to control the economics. Oh, one other thing is that Dr. Williams just tried to imply, like most white folk do, that, you know, them kids in SNCC, they just yell black power, ain't got no sense. So I just want to read to you some stuff that you don't even read.
Do you...
I'm sure you wouldn't want to.
I want to ask, do you teach nonviolence?
No. As a matter of fact, we say in SNCC, if a white man try to shoot us, we're going to kill him before God get the news. So we say, if white people don't want to be shot, let them keep their hands off of us. Our black parents made us. No white people don't chastise us. Don't chastise us. No, I do not teach nonviolence. You don't? First of all, you shouldn't say 10%. I have a thing about that, because I think white folks lie. I know black people more than 10%. I just know it. I just know it. That's right. That's right, Jim. I know we more than 10%, because we in every major city, we in the Army, we in the South, and we still multiply, and we got to be more than 10%. That's the first thing. But secondly, you don't have to be concerned about 10%. You're not asking for this country. You're asking for the right to govern and to rule your community. That's what you're asking. You're asking for white people to stop exploiting you. That's all. So that 10% has nothing to do with it. Don't you believe that people should rule themselves where they live?
You suggest that in many counties in Mississippi, Negroes are in the majority. Is it your proposal that they should take over the government and treat white folks like white folks treated them?
They should take over the government and express their needs, speak to their needs. White people are irrelevant. You're getting poor people in Mississippi to begin to get a decent living. That's what they're concerned about. I'm not concerned about
what would the Negroes who are poor, taking over control as you suggested, what would they do to and for the poor white people down there?
If you are addressing problems for poor, everybody is helped. I mean, I'm not concerned. White people are the ones who did that. We haven't done that.
My question to you is, do you want Negroes to do like white folks have done when they come to power?
I am not concerned about that. I am concerned about one thing.
You know what I'm asking.
I know what you're asking. I'm going to answer you. Black people do not have power. They have been robbed and deprived of that power. Certainly you said that in your affirmation. I am concerned that the people who have stolen the power from them, leave them alone. That is all. What we do with the power when we have it is another question.
You're evading the heart
No,
of my
I am not
question.
evading
Yes,
it.
you
I'm
are.
not, I've told you, I'm not concerned about white people doing anything to them.
But
I'm just
when you
concerned
are-
about black people having a decent life. Now, if you're saying that in order for black people to have a decent life, then white people must suffer.
No,
Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm asking you, when you take over in Sunflower County in Mississippi,
That's right.
there are poor white people there. What will you do to them or for them?
We will advocate for the poor. What is for the poor? If they see themselves as part of the poor, they can enjoy their benefits. If they see themselves as whites, they can stay where they are.
We have a few more minutes.
Us. In religion, that's the other boys. They ought to stick to the pulpit, leave politics to us. Well, I think that one of the binding forces of the black community is religion, obviously, and that you just can't wipe it out just like that. You have to recognize it. Now, my own study of the black community shows that the only movement that we have been able to support ourselves that was not a religious movement was the Garvey movement, which had religious truth.
Directed to you from somebody behind me, Mr. Carmichael. Quote, how does your idea on black power differ from the teachings of the black Muslims?
Well, let me first say that the Muslims do not call themselves black Muslims. That's a name that was given to them by C. Eric Lincoln in his book and has been picked up by the press. I do believe that it is unethical for me to speak about the program of the Muslims. They sell a paper, it's called Mohammed Speaks, and on the back page of it every week lists their programs and their projects. People should read that. I have stated what the concept of SNCC is via black power, and they should make the analysis. I will not make the analysis for another group. It's unethical.
Directly in front of me in this row. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, go right ahead.
That we would have to disregard or ignore the white immorality. Now, to me, if we do this, we've ignored the source of our problem, or we are looking over the atrocities the white man has committed against the black race. If I have misunderstood you, would you please correct me?
Well, I said we should negate their thinking about us. The thinking they've propagated about us should be negated. We should do our own thinking, and that we should not be involved in their atrocities, which is precisely the war in Vietnam. That's what I'm talking about. And the Santo Domingo thing and the way those cats rule the world. See, white America thinks she's God. She rules the world, but she ain't God. Ain't nothing but a man with white skin, that's all. And we're going to have to find that out. The question is whether or not we're going to become involved in that. Are we going to help plunder the world? Are we going to help drop bombs and burn babies in Vietnam? I mean, are we going to go into Santo Domingo and shoot down black people? Are we going to go into Brazil and shoot them down? Are we going to help back all those dictatorships that this country backs, including Franco in France, in Spain, which he then sends planes to help keep the people, black people in Angola, in check? I mean, the country gives all that money to Spain. So that's a whole lot of nonsense they talk about. This country cannot talk about morality, and certainly not to us. She stole us. How can she talk about morality to us? So that we don't even concern with anything she says. We just turn our backs on it. She knows nothing about morality. She's been stealing all her lives. This country is a nation of thieves. Stole this country from the Indians, stole us. Anything she gets her hands on, she steals. The country stands on the brink of becoming a nation of murderers. And either we become a part of it or we say, hell no. I choose to say, hell no. Everybody should make their own choice, because 20 years from now, when Nuremberg comes around, I'm going to be pointing my finger. I'm not going to be on the seat box.
Mr. Carmichael, I certainly think that our country ought to be criticized. I think you ought to criticize it, but let me ask you, to what extent are you a part of this country? Are you a citizen and share any of its benefits, or are you not?
I see myself as a colonial subject in this country.
But I'm asking you, are you a citizen? Do you call yourself an
Does a
American?
citizen enjoy all the rights that each other citizen enjoys?
Do you consider yourself legally an American citizen?
Well, let me ask you a question.
I asked you one, answer that one.
I just want you to clarify for me in my own mind, because I'm a little bit confused.
Stokely, you aren't that naive. You and I both had the same teacher at Howard University, and Eugene Holmes told me that you read a little philosophy while you were there. Now, my question to you is, are you an American citizen? Do you consider yourself a legal citizen of this country?
I am not a legal citizen, because obviously I do not enjoy the rights of all citizens. Therefore, I am not a citizen.
That isn't the question.
I see myself as a colonial subject. A citizen enjoys the rights of the country. I don't see black people enjoying those rights. I think they're deluded when they call themselves citizens.
I've heard you speak for white folks and speak for the United States.
You heard me do what?
Speak for white folks and speak for the United States. What I'd like to know is, when do you begin to speak for black people?
Come listen to me, honey, on Sunday morning.
That's the Cadillac, baby. Come on from there. Sunday morning, you preach the word of God, don't you?
Come hear me.
I have a comment directed to Mr. Williams and also a question. Mr. Williams speaks of reason and of logic. If we would follow reason and logic in looking at the history of the development of the Christian religion, we would see a double nature there. And my question leads to this, Reverend Williams. Can you give an example? And it's a two-part question. Can you give an example of any group in history, any nation in history that has thrown off its oppressor or its pain under the foot of someone through meekness? Number one. The second question that leads into this, I fail to see how you could not see what Mr. Carmichael was saying in regards to citizen. If, logically, it would seem that he does not enjoy whatever those conditions are that you define citizen, how can he really call himself a citizen? Those are two questions.
And before you answer the question, look, I need your name. You better work for SNCC.
The first part of your question, I suppose you really don't want me to start talking about the history of the Christian faith and this sort of thing. Now, let me make one observation. When I speak, I know what I'm talking about, whether you understand that or not. And it doesn't, I want to make this clear, and it doesn't matter one bit to me whether you understand it. I'm sorry that you don't, and I hope that if you do a little reading and some of the things Stokely suggests and other things too, it might be helpful at that point. Now, let me get to the point. If you listen, you might be informed. There is no instance where a group with power has voluntarily given it up. There's no history of that. Now that question, though, that observation is aside from what is the utilitarian value, what is the pragmatic significance or usefulness of life's commitment on the part of one in his struggle for his just ends. This is what I call religion. Now, if you're talking about some non-citizens, yes, not all.
Can I make a comment on that?
Yes, and this is the last comment and the last question. I'm sorry, you may remain here after the cameramen who have to get their gear out of here. These men have been facing, they've got to go on out. Just a minute. We have started the town meetings. We want to continue them, but we have to do it according to a formula.
The more you think you're a citizen, the more you're going to love and fight for this country. When you begin to understand your colonial subject, you're not going to fight for it anymore. You're going to fight here to become a citizen. That's what you got to understand.
Well, thank you.